People of the internet! Welcome back to another video with his I, Don Thomas, back in here with another one. As always, folks, the likes, the comments, the subscribes are all greatly appreciated. Thank you so much for the support on this channel. Without further ado, let's go ahead and dive into today's topic, folks. We're talking about colorism in the black community. I have a video pulled up here from the good brothers over at Hardly Initiated, shout out to those dudes, in which they had Dr. Umar. Of course, if you're familiar with Dr. Umar, I spoke on him not too long ago, I think in one of my videos, saying that I was actually a fan of him. I think he's an interesting person. Dr. Umar was a guest on the Hardly Initiated podcast, in which they were talking about colorism in the black community. And the segment that I want to speak on in particular is them talking about if black men prefer dating light-skinned women. I have the video pulled up here. Of course, I'll get that situated. Again, shout out to the good brothers over on that podcast. Shout out to Dr. Umar. Let's watch a little bit of this video. Of course, I'll share my thoughts. I encourage you guys to share your thoughts down in the comment section below. Let's get into it.
Black men, I'm going to put this on us sisters too. We practice color. I think the colorism of black men in the dating world supersedes the colorism of sisters in the dating world.
See, we never, you don't hear this conversation.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So
yes,
now, what do you mean by that?
Black men are extremely biased against dark-skinned black women. I've been in rooms. I've been in events, and this is a global phenomenon too. It's not limited here. It's a Pan-African issue. I've been in spaces, right, where there might be 3 or 4 sisters over there. They are all attractive, but the dark sister, in some cases, stunningly beautiful, and the brother would always go to one of the lighter ones just because she was light. I've seen this repeatedly and consistently. I hear young men say they only date light skin. Look at the gangster rap community. Many of our prominent gangster rappers have at least one song where they either condemn dark-skinned women or promote light-skinned women. Jay-Z, he has a song earlier years where he says he only dates the wavy light skin. Yeah. Him being with Beyonce is not an accident. He probably would never consider a dark-skinned woman. I'm not trying to say Mr. Carter is a light-skinned supremacist, but going off of his lyrics, he may definitely qualify for one. Our dark-skinned sisters, who are just as beautiful as our browns and our yellows, are being overlooked by black men because they don't have a complexion that approximates the slave master.
Pause it right there real quick, man. So, of course, you heard Dr. Umar. Shout out to Dr. Umar, content creator, person that's very outspoken about his views within the black community, Pan-Africanism, things of that nature. Shout out to him. Of course, you heard his opinion. What do I make of that, folks? What do you guys make of that, folks? In terms of colorism in the black community, more so speaking specifically to us black men, of course, the video is entitled Dr. Umar on Why Black Men Prefer Light-Skinned Women. As a black man, of course, I'll share my thoughts. Do I see what he's saying? Yes, I do. Of course, you heard a story where he says, you know, and of course, he's speaking to his personal experiences, but he's saying that he's gone to certain events, series of different beautiful, attractive women in a certain space. The black men seem to gravitate to the lighter-skinned women and don't pay any mind to the darker-skinned women. I would argue by saying I think colorism has always been a thing within the black community. I don't think that's something that's started today. I think that's always been a thing. Not to take it there, but if we want to even talk about back in the slavery times, what are the cases? You heard, you know, the light skins were typically the ones that worked in the house. The darker skin tone folks were typically the ones that were in the field picking the cotton. Again, not to take it there, but whatever. It is what it is. So in current day times, of course, in terms of, let's just talk about marketplace value, dating, black men. Is this true? Is there any validity in what Dr. Umar is saying? Brothers, holla at me. Do we have a preference solely for light-skinned women? Or even maybe outside of that, I'll take it a step further. You know, the women outside of our race, or maybe even super light-skinned. Maybe our white women are Puerto Ricans, are this, that, and the other, blah, 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 blah. Do black men not pay much mind to the darker-skinned women? In my personal observation, I would say there is some validity in what he's saying. Generally speaking, and then I'm going to speak personally for myself. Generally speaking, I do agree within our culture that black men typically do lean towards either light-skinned women, you know, let's say a darker man, whatever the case is, a man that's maybe my complexion, maybe darker, lighter, whatever the case is. I do think there is a large demographic of men who do lean towards lighter-skinned women. I'm also going to say we all have our preferences, right? I think everybody has their preferences, right? So am I saying these men are wrong? No, not necessarily. Am I calling them villains? No, not necessarily. I think people do like what they like. And it's okay to like what you like. I don't think you should feel ashamed of liking what you like. So if you are a brother who does like light-skinned women or white women or Hispanic women, you're entitled to that, man. It's like, you are who you are. You like what you like, right? So I don't think we should bash these dudes or shun these dudes if you are a dude that does prefer a certain type of woman. No. I'm not calling you a bad guy. I think the controversy comes, and again, I am going to speak for myself as well too. I think the controversy, why this is maybe a spicy topic, is because we see it again, this colorism thing leaking into other factors as well too. So we see it maybe within our popular culture, our music videos, our movies, where it's maybe a certain type of woman that's maybe associated with beauty as opposed to other women, right? I'll speak for myself as a black man. Do I only prefer light-skinned women? No. I don't, actually. I am somebody, I've said it a lot of times on this channel as well too, I like all women. And to be completely honest, my palette for women has been growing as of late, man. I would say growing up, I predominantly did like African-American women. I was always attracted to, Hispanic women, of course, as they usually say. We like the Dominicans and the Brazilians and this, that, and the other. Yeah, there's some validity in that. Again, speaking for myself personally, yeah, of course, I did like those women. And those would maybe the two main demographics that I would give the majority of my attention. As I've grown to get older, and, people's, you grow in maturity, you grow in interest, and whatever the case is, I would honestly say that my interests have widened outside of that. There are some Asian women that have piqued my interest. Again, and this is like, me speaking again for preference, because again, we all have our preference. I'm not biased when it comes to women, me personally, because again, for me personally, yeah, your looks matter. I'm not gonna say your looks don't matter. Yes, like, your looks matter, but like, I think we all kind of are attracted to things that are not like us to some degree. I think some people are attracted to things that look like them, come from them, maybe they can resonate with, but sometimes there is an element of allure, right? Of intrigue for a certain demographic that we're not used to, that we're not around, Speaking for myself again, personally, in my history of the relationships that I've been in, not that it's been a lie and it hasn't been recent, but in my younger days when I was actually out here, I dated all types of complexion of women. I have. Light skin, brown skin, fair complexion. Yeah. Dark skin, yeah. Dark skin, yeah. I had to do a quick recap real quick. Yeah. Because again, for me personally, it's like, yeah, of course, your looks is what's going to interest me, of course, get my attention, but your character is what's going to keep me, is what's really going to make me like you, right? Another factor, of course, that women take into consideration sometimes, or men, I should say, take into consideration sometimes, is what their offspring will look like, right? So let's say, for example, if you're a dark-skinned brother and you maybe you've seen the stereotypes and you've seen the stigma throughout your upbringing of, the favor that certain complexions get as opposed to others, maybe you will make a strategic decision to find a partner that will maybe see to it that your children don't maybe come across the same maybe struggles that you came across, right? Let's not be naive and say, within our culture, we don't see situations where the darker tone of the person, the more challenging it might be, or again, the beauty standards might not be as associated with those type of people with that, darker skin color. So maybe some people, it's strategic. It's with full intention that, hey, I am going to look for a lighter skin companion, in terms of even just childbearing and having children with the cases, because in this world, in this country, of course, he said as well too, here in America and in other countries, let's just keep it real. Here in America and in other countries, that does seem to be true. That the lighter you are, the more favor you have toward the more favor you might garner from jobs, certain industries, restaurants. Let's just keep it real. Let's keep it real. But let's not be foolish in saying that these people are not attractive. I've definitely I've come across in my personal experience, and of course just universally, we would all be foolish to say that it's only the light-skinned women that are attractive, because again, I think Dr. Umar said it as well too. There are situations where there are darker-skinned women that are just as gorgeous and just as beautiful, but the men don't seem to gravitate towards them. which is the whole point of this video. There's a little bit more. I want to see if there's a little bit more context. I kind of want to see. Let me see if there's a little bit more insight.
I'm going to put my black conscious people on blast too. And by black consciousness, I'm loosely referring to all the brothers who claim to be woke in some way or another, including scholars, elders, and youth. If you go through the conscious community, 99% of all the conscious talking heads have women who can pass a brown paper bag test. You're not going to tell me it's a pure coincidence that most of our black scholars, most of our young conscious brothers in the YouTubian world, you can't tell me it's purely a coincidence that 99% of them have women who can pass the brown paper bag test. Our dark-skinned sisters are not in short supply. We are simply overlooking them. And I'll tell you this, and I'll be quiet. For a long time, I said I would only marry a dark-skinned sister because I saw how they got overlooked. And working in the schools, I saw how the chocolate girls were always the last to be approached. So I said, I'm going to marry a chocolate queen and put the chocolate women back on the map. And then I had to sit down one day. And I said, if you do that, you practicing dark skin supremacy.
So how do we win then, Dr. Umar? How do we win then, Dr. Umar? Because it's like, okay, you heard his thoughts there as well too. Most men, of course, in certain sectors, certain spaces, gravitate towards certain women, whatever the case is. Dr. Umar says he made a conscious attempt to lean towards a certain, the dark brown-skinned women, of course, or darker-skinned women, whatever the case is, so he doesn't fall into, fall victim to that stereotype that he maybe saw around him. And then he said he had to change his thought. He changed his mind and said, oh, nah. Then by him doing that, he would be looking to, it'll be dark skin supremacy and dark skin favoritism, whatever this case is. It's just like, wait, what? Then what's the point? Then what are we saying here? Dr. Umar? I like Dr. Umar, man. I like Dr. Umar. He's a funny dude. But he people kind of dismiss him and say things. Sometimes they think he's, I think people a lot of the times associate Dr. Umar with, oh, he's just a funny guy. He's just a social media guy. He contradicts himself, this, that, and the other, blah, blah, blah. And I think he kind of sort of contradicted himself a little bit with that last statement, in my personal opinion. But is there a why? Again, I think the why is going to look different for a lot of people, different reasons. For a lot of reasons, I think. If men are black men choosing, are black men overlooking the darker skinned women and going for the light skinned women, maybe not. It's preference. Because again, of course, I'm sure they're probably speaking to the larger majority, but of course we can all say, yeah, there's a certain demographic of people who maybe, like Dr. Umar said, who don't want anything to do with light-skinned women. Like, nope, I only like dark-skinned women, this, that, and the other, blah, 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 blah. And it'll be nothing wrong with that. For me personally, I'm gonna say this as well too. Again, as somebody who's I feel like has dated or interacted with women of all kind of complexions, I'm not saying that, if you see me out here with a light-skinned joint, that I'm colorism. No. I like what I like at the end of the day. But dark-skinned ladies, I want to hear from y'all, man. Down in the comment section, man. If you're a woman of darker complexion, let me know. Do you feel like in the marketplace, in the dating marketplace, men are overlooking you as opposed to your lighter-skinned companions, your lighter-skinned homegirls? Again, I think it's something that has just been culturally programmed, whether consciously or subconsciously, that, yeah, man, like, because again, I think, in our music videos, in our movies, within the black culture, of course, we speak within the black community. Yeah, for some time, even from a young age, as far back as I can think, yeah, man, I do feel like the lighter skinned women are the ones that are associated with beauty. Like, you think beauty and you think, oh, she got to be light skinned. She got to have the little baby hairs pressed along her head. She got to look a certain way, this, that, and the other. And yeah, I feel like subconsciously, maybe we all associated that being beauty. I think people have to intentionally put brown-skinned women or dark-skinned women to the forefront to remember, like, hey, we're out here as well, too. I think people have to make a more conscious decision to do that as a reminder to show that, nah, man, hey, y'all got it out here as well, too. But to be completely honest, man, like, me, again, speaking personally, I like what I like. I think it's okay to like what you like. Whatever your reason may be. If you like a certain style of woman, right? A certain aesthetic of a woman, you're entitled to that, right? Especially if you're talking about marrying this person or having children with the person, because I hope you're doing it for reasons that are for you and not for society, because you got to live with that person. You got to wake up with that person every single day. So I'm not going to go into a situation and feel like, oh, nah, I got to appease society, so I'm solely going to marry a dark-skinned woman so I don't fall victim to the shame that comes with, oh, dating a woman, you know, a white woman or a light-skinned woman. No. I feel like at the end of the day, yeah, like what you like. It's okay to like what you like. Let's not shun people for liking what they like. But I would agree, of course, which again was the whole context of the video, I would agree that there is colorism within the black community. Again, the lighter you are, the lighter shade you are, seems to be a little bit more in your favor within this culture. And the darker you are, you seem to be associated with not as handsome or pretty or whatever the case is. Why is it like that? It might be goes back to history, like I said. If we want to take it back to the slave master days, let's just keep it real. The light-skinned ones were the ones that were allowed in the house. They were allowed the ones to maybe take care of the children and be servants at the dinner table, at the prestigious dinner tables, whereas the darker-skinned folks, those were the ones that were doing the brunt of the labor. Sometimes you got to bring those things up sometimes, man. If we want to think about the programming sometimes and how we got to where we're at, maybe. Let's start there. It wouldn't be far off to start there and say, hey, man, maybe that's what to blame as to why the dark-skinned folks are maybe not as appealing to the eye. Some would argue that they're not as appealing to the eye because of those things that have been ingrained in us from generations before. Maybe not. I don't know. But me, I will conclude in saying I like what I like. If you see me out here with a nice brown-skinned, dark-skinned girl, don't be confused. I like what I like. And honestly, I'll even go on to say there's other qualities beyond that as to why I maybe chose that person as a companion. On the flip side of that as well, too, I will still say, if you see me out here with a light-skinned joint, it's not because I think, oh, that's the, you know, whatever the case is. Again, it might have just came with what I like. You know, I like what I like. I think fellas can like what they like. And everybody has their preference. Those are my thoughts. Of course, I want to hear yours down in the comment section below. Fellas, holla at me, man. Black brothers, are you only giving your time and your attention to the light-skinned women? And if so, why? Are you doing it intentionally? Are you just solely on the market? Are you giving a blind eye to our dark-skinned ladies, our brown-skinned women? Intentionally? Are you going out when you go out? Are you paying them no mind and solely looking for the light-skinned women? If so, let me know why, man. Brown-skinned ladies, dark-skinned ladies, holla at me down in the comment section, man. How does this make you feel? Colorism in general, and then colorism within the black community when it comes to dating. Are you being overlooked? Are men not necessarily shooting their shot or taking you as seriously as they are? Maybe your light-skinned homegirl or this, that, and the other. And how does that make you feel? Because I can see how one would argue, yeah, it might eat away at your confidence a little bit. But some of y'all are just as fine. A lot of women, of course, I've come across a lot of brown-skinned, dark-skinned women that are just as gorgeous. So a lot of y'all should have no problem. Like, man, that don't mean nothing. You know what I'm saying? Like, a lot of y'all should still have that confidence and feeling like, man, that don't mean nothing because I'm still out here doing what I got to do, maintaining this, that, and the other. Those are my thoughts. Of course, I want to hear yours down in the comment section below. As always, the likes, the comments, and subscribes are all greatly appreciated. I will catch you on the next one.